Hello everyone, welcome to Road to Cheltenham. We've got a busy show to get through. So much happened at the weekend, so happily we have Ruby Walsh in the chair on my left, and we've got much to discuss, Ruby, starting off with that double that you put up last week, which I thought was a really good double, and immediately Honeysuckle for the champion hurdle and Didier for the mares.
Yes, and look, it was a related double at the time if Honeysuckle could go and win the Irish champion hurdle, which she did, and put herself in the champion hurdle picture. It just looked like something that could be valued to me, Lydia. She did win the Irish champion hurdle. Whether she's on a run in the champion hurdle, though, that's open to debate. I know our connections have said it's more likely she will go to the mare's hurdle, but they haven't definitely ruled anything out. They
haven't. Let's have a look at what was actually said. Peter Maloney quoted in the Racing Post. He said, "Nothing is set in stone, but we're still leaning towards the mare's hurdle with Honeysuckle. The main reason is that 2.5 miles is her optimum trip." And Peter obviously is the racing manager to owner Kenny Alexander. I thought they'd be tempted to go immediately after the race. I can understand why there are reasons against it. Let's have a look at what you all think as well, because plenty of you have got opinions on this subject, and why not? Because it's a divisive kind of thing. We can start with Jamie, and he says, correct decision for her first time at Cheltenham. David Brown's got a view. He also thinks it's the right decision. Not her trip. It didn't work for Lorena, the champion hurdle, and it wouldn't have worked for Honeysuckle. But Steve Rutton's takes a different view. You'd think that 2 mile at Cheltenham would suit Honeysuckle, a faster pace than the Irish champion hurdle, most likely softer ground, and the hill finish. So, Ruby, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Steve makes some good points there. Like, the first day of Cheltenham was usually the slowest day. You have to remember that Leopardstown this time of the year is on its inside track, which it's always been. That's not a new phenomenon. They haven't just started doing that lately. That's been that way for as long as I can remember. Leopardstown track manager means it starts on the outside on St Stephen's Day or Boxing Day and works all its way in till it gets to where it is now. It's good track management actually, and it's a good test of a horse, that track in Leopardstown. But the champion hurdle is a different course altogether. It's on the outside, the old course. It is a very stiff finish, and it's 2 miles and 1, whereas the Irish champion hurdle is just 2 miles.
The way it was billed by the Post, I thought, OK, they've definitely made the decision. I think the door's still slightly open, and people can, resist everything but temptation, I always find.
The door is slightly open, but I think you have to leave the door slightly open. Should something happen to one or two of the main protagonists that are left in the champion hurdle, it's easier for them to go that way now than it would be if they closed the door. So I would be leaving the door open, yeah.
Right now, is it easier to beat the courses that she would face in the champion hurdle or to beat Didier in the mare's hurdle?
I would have thought that Didier has probably achieved more than what's on offer in the champion hurdle, but I do think Honeysuckle has to have improved from her run in Leopardstown and improved her jumping from Leopardstown.
Let's analyse exactly that, shall we? You've picked out some key hurdles.
Yeah, she's good. Look, she's good at the first. She goes down there. She's good and brave and holds her own. Now, a little bit high, but it's the first hurdle. But she doesn't lose any ground here, so you're thinking, yeah, she's coping with this pace and she's banging it. But you've no sooner thought that when you think, oh, maybe not. And that's at the next hurdle, the second hurdle. And just watch her in number 10 in the blue colours in relation to Sharjah in the pink on the inside and the grey horse Petit Mouchoir. Watch her slow into the hurdle. Sharjah keeps coming on the inside, and from being just behind Petit Mouchoir, she's now back almost between Super Sunday and Darver Star. So, there's a first stall, and now Rachel Blackmore, being aware of that, has to ride her hard into the third hurdle. Watch her body as she sits in and squeezes and shoves Honeysuckle forward to keep her at parity. And that's not trying to make ground, that's only trying to keep parity. You see Darver Star and the white with the red star making a slight mistake there. And in the back straight, if you watch the grey horse, now watch the grey horse's hind end and Honeysuckle's nose. Even on the approach to the jump, Petit Mouchoir is getting away from Honeysuckle. Through the air and on landing, that gap widens again. Honeysuckle jumps slightly more like a chaser. She backs off, she sets herself up, and she's a bit clean. But to be fair to her as well, this was her first start at 2 miles in Grade 1 company. At the second last, look at Petit Mouchoir, pings it, she's a bit slow, but just watch away from the hurdle how much further back she gets. And, David Russell goes away, you see her head appearing into the shot, even away from the jumps, her momentum on the landing side isn't as quick as it needs to be. Now she gets on top of Petit Mouchoir then around the bend. Darver Star is close and Sharjah ran very disappointed in the pink colours, and she is without doubt the best horse in the race. But she's made to work harder than she should have because of her jumping.
She lets him in again here, Petit Mouchoir.
She does, and watch her ears. She backs off and she has a look. She steadies herself up and corrects herself, gets in, bit high, skews a little bit, And Rachel Blackmore's aware of it because as soon as she lands, she gives her a flick, but Petit Mouchoir shoots by her. Now you're thinking, oh my God, but she rallies back. We saw Hurricane Fly rally back on this course to beat O'Connor, rally back to beat Jetski. So, you know, horses that are rallying back here can often, I saw Classical Dream rally back on that track last year to beat Aramon and go and win the Supreme. So horses who have winning form on that inside track do have Cheltenham form as well.
What do you think of that form? She was receiving £7. She's beaten an 8-year-old second season novice and a 9-year-old Petit Mouchoir, whose very best days, albeit I think he's running to a very high level this season. He was the stick that was used to beat Saldier and also Sharjah. Yeah,
and I use it as much as anybody else. You were questioning it because he was there, but he's now gone from the Morgiana to Christmas to the Dublin Racing Festival and run 3 very consistent races. So he's backing up his own form, and with the benefit of hindsight, you can see that. What do I make of it? She's always going to get the £7. So you can't throw that out there. She's getting 7. She's going to get that every day off geldings. So I'd say it's a fairly high level of form. And we're looking for horses. You obviously have Epatante from the Christmas hurdle over here. But do you have anything else?
Not really.
She stands out. So is there an opportunity? Well, she's beaten Sharjah. But now Sharjah, to be fair to him, has beaten Petit Mouchoir on a going day. So you'd have to forgive him that.
Yes, and you can't no longer link his going days with the ground necessarily, because he had his ground, didn't he?
I thought he did. I thought there was no reason for him to run as disappointing as he did. His homework had been good. I can't really shed any light on it, but he was disappointing.
You mentioned Epatante. Let's compare and contrast the way that she hurdles with specifically the way that Honeysuckle hurdles. Epatante there has obviously been watching Bouvardere quite closely.
Epatante barely gets the height of the hurdle. She's much slicker and much quicker jumper. She's a real hurdler. Honeysuckle, you can see the pointer, the chaser coming out in her, the way she jumps. 2 horses coming from completely different backgrounds with 2 completely different styles, but for the ease of passage through a champion hurdle, Epatante will be an easier ride.
Then we have another mare potentially entering stage right, don't we, in Benny de Dieu, who Willie Mellon said immediately after he saw her last time he was thinking stayers, and then he's sort of backing away from that. They were talking about the mare's hurdle, and then Nick Luck put it to her owner, Rich Ritchie, might they think about supplementing for the champion hurdle?
I don't know. I haven't spoken to Willie yet. Would you supplement her for the champion hurdle? I don't know if she's fast enough, but it's something you'd have to consider. And again, I don't want to get into anything about she's going to run there, whatever it is. We haven't had a discussion about it. But, you know, just given how open the champion hurdle is, you'd have to think about it. If she's a 2-miler, you know, she's very good over 2.5 and 3. We know she gets that. But it reminds me a bit of Annie Power. You know, we chose to run Annie Power in the stayers, and that was a mistake. She should have gone for the champion hurdle. But we'll have to see. But it certainly has to be on the table. It's the right question.
I haven't spoken to Willie yet. Wah, wah, wah. That was post-race euphoria, wasn't it? Because Faugheen had just won. And it's an understandable question because of the standard of the champion hurdle. You're grinning at me.
It is, but it's a question that you could ask and see why it was asked. And I'm sure Richly considered it, and so will Willie. But when you break it down and look at it in the colder light of day, she has 2-mile chase form. She's no 2-mile hurdle form. Annie Power did have 2-mile hurdle form. Annie Power had never been a chaser. She'd always only run over hurdles. She was low and slicker, a bit more like Epatante than Honeysuckle, whereas Benny de Dieu is probably, you know, she has chase form, and in her there's always that tendency maybe to go a bit high, and very few champion hurdle winners go high.
Indeed, and obviously Richie had just seen Sharjah run disappointingly, and earlier in the season he did have Saldier run well and beat Petit Mouchoir, and we've had a tweet in asking specifically about Saldier from Asa here, who was wondering whether we've got any info on him. Will we be seeing out before Cheltenham? Will he be going to Cheltenham? And kind words at the end, which is very nice of you. But for the hint, the very fact that Rich Ritchie is thinking about Benny de Dieu for the champion hurdle, is that an implicit negative for Sharjah and Saldier?
Well, not definitely not for Sharjah. You saw him at the weekend. He ran disappointing, but his preparation is going fine. Obviously, Saldier had a hold up. I don't think he'll get a run before Cheltenham. If he gets to Cheltenham, he'll be going there first time off the prep he's having at the moment, but he needs lots of things to go right.
But you'd probably have told Asa all of that on the phone earlier, wouldn't you? Because, I mean, you're good friends with Asa. Here's the evidence of it.
He never even asked me. Could have saved himself the bother of tweeting.
That's his profile picture. That's how much it means to him.
Good man.
You could reciprocate.
If I had the password to get onto my Twitter, I probably could reciprocate.
Right, OK, let's move on, shall we, and talk about the 2 mile chasing division moving into the intermediate chases as well, because Chacun Pour Soi met Min in the Dublin chase, and my view was that it's the most substantial 2 mile chasing form of the season. You definitely didn't agree. Well, a good number of you didn't agree. We've got some tweets to prove that. Cormac McCloskey is on Twitter, and he was saying, substantial 2 mile chasing form of the season. I'll have whatever she's drinking. What did Mullins learn about Chacun Pour Soi? Beat more stablemates than anything else. Liam D also had something to say. Chacun practically walked home after the last. He was empty. Defeat and Altior will bomb past him up that hill, in my opinion, Lydia. Chacun will do well to place in the champion chase. That's their view. What's your view, Ruby? You've spliced up Chacun Pour Soi's Dublin chase with Notebook's Irish Arkle, and you found what? I
found that I'd say this Dublin champion chase was run at a pretty high level, and so was the Arkle. They both broke quickly. The Arkle, the novice chasers on your right, they broke a bit quicker than the season chasers on your left. You see on Arnu on the outside, Min in the pink with the green cap, Chacun Pour Soi down the inside, and on the right hand screen you have Cashback and Notebook up sides. Arnu gets to the front, marginally in front of Cashback. Away from the stands to the second fence, Min is in the air, Cashback is a second, maybe behind, Notebook just behind that, and he's outside. We swing around into the back straight now, and you'll see where the pace is pouring on. Arnu and Min are in the air, Cashback is only getting there now, so they've run substantially quicker away from the stands and round the bend. To the ditch down the back straight, Min is taking it off Arnu and is pressing on. He's in the air right now. Cashback is still only coming to it, and Notebook, and we all thought that the Arkle was a pretty good race and run at a pretty high level, but this race was on your left was run substantially quicker in my opinion. Now it's a jump, what is the fourth last, Cashback's just getting there, Chacun Pour Soi is going up to take it off Min, and they're round the bend to the last ditch, Min and Chacun Pour Soi, but watch Notebook on the right hand screen in the Jigginstown colours, watch how right he jumps off out to his right. That could be a worry come champion chase day. Now if we freeze it going to the second last, on the very left of your screen you have Chacun Pour Soi and Min. They're about to get to the second last fence, and Arnu is in the distance. But if you count the stakes in the white railing, on Arnua's shot, 1, 2, 3, he's at the third stake. Count Cashback and Notebook in the right hand screen, 1, 2, 3, 4. They're actually behind Arnua. So what are they? 20, 25 lengths off Min and Chacun Pour Soi. That's the tempo that the champion chase was run at compared to an Arkle. And the Arkle was run, we thought, with 2 front runners like Cashback and Notebook at a pretty high level. So the form on the left is rock solid, and it's no wonder that Chacun Pour Soi and Min probably slowed down a little bit from the back of the last. They had to, with the tempo they had run through the middle of the race.
Absolutely. It was just such a strongly run event that horses are, essentially, the race has happened and they're just playing it out to the finishing line at that point.
They are, but he does keep going. This is the only fence Chacun Pour Soi touches. He nudges that and pecks a little bit, but how quick he gets his front feet out and under him. He's not going to knuckle over on his head. But I think, Paul said it afterwards, he felt Chacun Pour Soi was idling in front. Some people thought he was out on his feet. And I didn't know until we were mixing this up earlier on, Lydia, and I picked up a shot when they went by the line, and it was Chacun Pour Soi after the race, and how he looked when the race was over that made you thought he could definitely have been idle. His 2 ears were pricked quite quickly, and even Cashback and Notebook galloped on. But look at Chacun Pour Soi there. That to me doesn't look like a tired horse was out on his feet.
No, absolutely not. Meanwhile, on the other side, Notebook manages to get the better of Cashback. I mean, that's pretty good form nonetheless. I mean, I know they're slower than the Dublin Chase at every stage. They're novices, though, and they had a real good ding-dong.
They are, but often we have seen in Sandown where a Henry VIII could be quicker than Tingle Creek. So for Chacun Pour Soi and Min here, and it's very rare you get 2 Grade 1 chases on the same card, on the same racing line, 35 minutes apart, where you can actually compare them like for like that. So, it just shows you how far ahead of Notebook and Cashback Chacun Pour Soi and Min are. And I think Chacun Pour Soi cemented himself definitely as a champion chaser.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. Let's have another close-up look at Chacun Pour Soi and just underline what it is that Ruby's talking about.
Watch Min. Min is in the air. Chacun Pour Soi still on the ground. Watch them landing. Chacun Pour Soi in one stride is in front.
Such a great shot, that. It's so illustrative.
Yeah, and you'd imagine the horse that got off the ground first would land first, but he doesn't. Chacun Pour Soi, when he gets in close, has the ability to out-jump a horse who's throwing a big jump. And that is a huge attribute to him. And even on a different ISO that I was watching during the week, it's his power away when he lands. Not how far he can stand away from a jump. It's how fast he gets away on the landing side. That is incredible. And as we said a few minutes ago, he does get a little bit close here and nudges it, but you never think, oh, he's going to tip over. He gets his feet out really quick, and he's united and galloping. And, you know, for a horse with such little experience, he really is mature and professional.
Some people have decried the form because of Min, saying he's not much at 2 miles, but he's the winner of this race for the past 2 years.
He was rated 171. He was second in the champion chase to Altior. I don't know how you can grab the form, to tell you the truth.
No, absolutely, I think it's stonking form. Let's have a look at what he's up against then. We know about Defi Desoy. At the start of the season, you were talking about how you were a little bit concerned with the efficiency of Defi's jumping. Has that improved?
I think it has, all through the year. You'll see him here in Cheltenham back in the Slur Chase at the last ditch up the hill. And it's more so the height he gets in front and how static he is in the air. And you were thinking, is that really the way a 2 mile chaser jumps? He gets quite high, really up, and lands almost like a deer.
Yeah.
You know, you're thinking, God, that's not the way a champion chaser jumps. But from that run to his next run into Tingle Creek at the first ditch, watch how fast he is through the air here. He's in Barry's hands, but he's out through the air and puts himself upsides undersaw, and Politolog on his outside, he's jumped through. All of his runs through the year have gotten better, and it was a jump in Ascot at the second last, undersaw put down. Defi Desoy flew it. You know, he's jumping. He's a horse that really is progressing, Defi Desoy.
Absolutely. Race over at that second last when he ran against Undersow. Let's have a look at Altior, who, of course, is the defending champion. Won a couple of champion chases. This is the fright from the last. Yeah,
and I guess you watch it and you're thinking this is workmanlike and it was hard work. And maybe it was here. But it's the last sort of 3 or 4 strides of this race that are Altior's most impressive. We're going to see him at the weekend. He's apparently working the house down, which he always does. But here, it's like he's hit top gear, just going to the line. And when he was able to win a race that turned into a sprint. And I can't see this year's champion chase being a sprint. And
you were picking some holes again at the start of this series of shows with how quick he was across his fences these days.
I don't know. You hear the reports of Altior and how fabulous a workhorse he is, and I saw a video of him schooling last week and how slick he was jumping. But for a horse that's so fast at home and works so exceptionally well at home, it's a while since he's shown us that in the track. I'm trying to figure out why, and I think he just is a fraction ponderous jumper.
So at the moment we've got very current form, Chacun Pessoa, Defi Desoy coming to the top of the game. We don't know where that might be yet. And Altior has got the form from the previous 2 seasons. He is the champion. We're going to learn more this weekend. The game spirit is, you know, it's going to go one way or another from that race, isn't it? It
is, but look, even looking at the form and allowing Dynamite Dollars to run out of his skin, Altior should win, regardless. It's how impressive he is. I don't know, will he be that impressive, but I think he'll win.
OK. Silas Emery, also thought to be a player going into the Dublin chase, but this happened at the very first fence.
Real novice fall. Technically he's not a novice, but this is only his 4th run over fences, so realistically he gets a bit close in front but gets way too high behind. See where his tail ends up, gravity wins, takes over, down he goes. He just needs to learn from that to keep his hind end, when he gets deep, to keep his hind end sufficiently low.
Is the champion chase a good place to learn that?
No, but he would have learnt a lot from that, or you would hope he would.
He's OK, I take it.
He was 100%, so I imagine he could go to the Red Mills chase Saturday week if Willie so wanted to give him another run. That option is there for him. It's 2.5 miles, but it's an option.
Given your inexperienced point, you can see why that might be a good idea.
Yes, and he's won around Gorham before. OK,
let's have a look at the betting, shall we, for the Betway Queen Mother Champion Chase, which has Defi Desoy, the 2-to-1 favourite, Altior and Chacun Pessoa at 11-4, 12-1 and upwards the rest. A Plutar surely going to the Ryanair now. Plan A was always that for Henry de Bromhead.
And to be fair to Henry, he's never said anything other than that. Even though he beat Chacun Pessoa over 2 at Christmas, that is what Henry has always said he was going and where he was going to go, and he looks a big runner in that race. And I think the Ryanair, you'll have last year's winner Frodon, throw in Min, throw in a Plutar. It could be a bit of a belter as well.
It could well be. Let's have a look at Min, shall we, and think about him for the Ryanair, because obviously he's had a couple of goes at the Queen Mother Champion Chase, and this is him at Aintree going into the first.
Yeah, look, obviously I tried different tactics on him that didn't work in the champion chase, that completely backfired, but in entry when we let him roll he was very good. Now he doesn't have to front run, but he can race very close or onto the pace. He has sat just behind the pace when he won John Durkin, and he's made it to win another, but he jumped out here and went a real good gallop and he jumped really well. I think Min running in the Ryanair will have an impact on Frodon, because Min does have the speed to run in champion chases. We saw him already in Leopardstown. He does have the speed to lie up in a grade 1 2-mile chase. I think he could hassle Frodon, or maybe take Frodon out of his comfort zone in the first mile. I thought Frodon got it particularly easy in last year's Ryanair and got to build into the race like he did in Kempton a few weeks ago, and that allowed him to outstay the others. But when you looked at this race, you'd Frodon, ASO, I'm not sure which Diggins had is the blue cap. Mona Lee doesn't want to make it. Undersaw was being dropped in. Frodon was allowed from that point to dictate his own fractions. Now, to be fair to him, he can go a good gallop, but something like Min might just put him under a bit more pressure early on and not make it as easy for him.
I think it really will, and Min can sit just behind as well if he wants to. It's a lovely run style, I think, for the Ryanair, Min.
It is, and touch wood with Min, he's usually a sound jumper, and those 3 fences across the middle of that track, we know Frodon's a very good jumper, but that will suit Min as well.
Is Frodon even capable of doing that this year? I feel he hasn't proved that he's come back to that level of form so far this year.
I thought he's winning Kempton. I thought his running head up was good enough run behind Bristol de May and Lost in Translation. And I think, yeah, he won in Kempton but going the wrong way around. You know, and wouldn't be surprised if Paul Nicholls finds a bit of something in him.
Two fair points.
Kind of form.
Yeah, two fair points, absolutely. Let's have a look at the betting, shall we, for the Ryanair, which has a Plutar and Min as 4-1 joint favourites, with Frodon at 13-2. Riders on the Storm, an interesting player. The Ascot winner at 8-1, and then potentially even Surname, 10-1, and upwards the rest. Thoughts?
Yeah, I think it'll be a great race, and I think the top 3 are the right 3 in the betting. Surname obviously will be the interesting one if were he to run. You've Real Steel there as well, but that'll be a good race. And to be fair, the young horse, the improving horse, is a Plutar.
And where would you ride him?
Right behind Min and Frodon. Same place Rachel Blackmore rode him in last year's novice handicap chase.
And so in your mind's eye, the final 2 fences play out how with those 3?
How did they play out? Rachel and Bryony heading to the second last, following Paul Townend, who's gone clear on Min.
Oh, it's a happy ending. Right, let's talk about the Irish Gold Cup, shall we? And while we're talking about the major 3 chases of the Cheltenham Festival, we need to talk about Delta Work, who has now won twice at Grade 1 level in open company, the Savills Chase, and then followed up in the Irish Gold Cup. We're going to have a look at how he ran and also how Kenboy ran. Kenboy's on the inside in the blue and yellow colours.
Yeah, new colours for Kenboy, and he's a bit stuttery, would be the right word for him. At the first he backs off and is a little bit careful. Probably doesn't have the room to go to his right because Labago Roy is there, and he backs off and is a bit steady at it. And Delta Workers in the Jigginstown colours on the left, the maroon. Again, Kenboy the second is a bit careful, backs off, whereas Delta Work clean and beautifully through the air in a very good rhythm. And Delta Work is in a much better rhythm in this race than Kenboy. Again, Kenboy is a bit stuttery here.
Has he been doing a driving test or something? Perhaps his emergency stops when I hit the dashboard.
Yeah, he's but look, jumping was correct. Now this is the first down the back. Kenboy, brilliant jump. Delta Work gets close, but it's still very quick and very neat, and that's where Delta Work has improved. Before, when he was wrong at a fence, he was a bit cumbersome. This is the ditch halfway down the back. Kenboy jumps onto it, thinks he's going to bank it. It wasn't a bank race, Kenboy. It was actually a steeplechase. He was supposed to jump over it, but that was typical of Kenboy's race.
And here's going out to the right again.
Yeah, out into the side of jet. He just never seemed to be in a flow or in a rhythm. It was very stop-start for him, whereas Delta Work seemed to have a much smoother passage with Jack Kennedy behind. You see Kenboy jumping out to his right here now. It's more noticeable than it was before.
This is the most noticeable it's ever been, hasn't he? He adjusted right a lot with you at Aintree. He adjusted right last time as well. This is the most marked it's been. It
is, and maybe, I don't know why, but it just is. And you see Presenting Percy has slipped through on the inside here now in the green colours with Davy Russell. He pecks a little bit there, but he's committed in this race much sooner than he did at Christmas, where he never really got to commit. And there's no apparent excuse for presenting Percy. Turning in here, the first one off the bridle is Delta Work. Jack Kennedy is the first one to really start to squeeze and push and niggle along. The Bag O'Reilly in the blue down the inside has run a good race. Jet in the orange has run an absolute blinder. But down to the last, just watch Delta Work at the last fence. Jack Kennedy spots a stride on him, he goes for it, but Delta Work changes his mind. But it's how quick he was and how efficient he is at it.
And also Kemboy kind of stands still after the last, doesn't he?
He lands in a bit of a heap, and Delta Work then, I think, idles a bit in front. Jack felt the same, but you have to remember Delta Work won a per temps final as a 5-year-old. That's real stamina. So the extra trip in the Gold Cup is going to suit him, but he's going to have one major difference in Gold Cup day, and he's not going to have the assistance of that brilliant man on his back.
Yeah, poor Jack Kennedy really encapsulates, the way that luck can go. Half an hour later, breaking his femur. Yeah,
it is. That's the rotten luck of a jump jockey. But you notice that horse is at Christmas today. How he's in jumping improved. How Jack is getting to know him. Obviously Davy Russell rode him all last year as a novice, but he's committed to presenting Percy. So who gets the ride on Delta Work will be interesting.
I was wondering that. You don't think that presenting Percy might be inveigled towards the Stayers Hurdle at all? Is that completely fanciful?
I hadn't thought of it. Do I see it happening? I wouldn't think so.
The only thinking was there are many horses going into the Gold Cup that have better form than presenting Percy, and currently probably standing, if you don't include Benny Dedier, there's only one horse that's probably got better form over hurdles than him in the Stayers Hurdle.
Yeah, but that one horse stands out like a sore thumb in the Stayers Hurdle, and he's very unlikely there's anything going to go wrong for Paisley Park. There's only X amount of hurdles in a Stayers Hurdle. There's way more to be jumped in a Gold Cup. It'll be a bigger field. You have a better chance of getting a bit of luck in a Gold Cup than you probably have against Paisley Park in the Stayers Hurdle.
True, I was just thinking about your way of thinking. If you were Davy Russell, I have a chance of riding two horses.
Oh, definitely be trying to get him split, but all right with a novice, you could say run him in a 2 mile or 2.5 miles, but not go from fences to hurdles. That's a bit different.
Okay, so who do you reckon will end up riding Delta Work?
I don't know. Mark Walsh would be the name I'd probably spring to mind.
And would he suit?
Definitely, yeah. Brilliant rider as well.
What would be particularly good about that partnership, do you think?
Well, I can't see a Gold Cup horse that Mark would be riding right this minute. Barry rides Annabelle Fly. I don't think JP has another one. So, and I just think he's ridden a few for Chigginstown of late and Gordon Elliott. He rode the mare to win. What do you call her? Shadow. Can't think of her name.
I'm not sure. Is Annabelle Fly in the Gold Cup? I don't think.
Maybe he's not, but I can't think. I just he ran in that race.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, what other Gold Cup horse would JP have? What would Mark be committed to?
Yeah.
I think he's available and not committed.
Okay. Kemboy and the Undulations of Cheltenham. What do you feel about that?
Yeah. What do I feel about it? Punchestown's a bit undulating. It's the other way around. Going right-handed definitely suit him. I know Entry's dead level. Leopardstown is quite stiff. I wouldn't be worried about that. He just needs to get into a better rhythm. No, this didn't happen for Kemboy the other day, last Sunday.
Okay, let's have a look at the betting, shall we? Alboom Photo 7-2 favourite, Santini 5s, Delta Work 6s, Kemboy 7s along with Lost in Translation, Clanderzobo 8s who goes straight there, missing the Denman Chase this weekend, and then 14-1 upwards the rest, including Native River, who does run in the Denman Chase. Alboom Photo. The question is, coming back to win a second Gold Cup?
That seems to be the problem, doesn't it? But he's gone this very same route as he went last year, and he was very good in Tramore, arguably a bit better than he was last year. Santini and Delta Work have proved my theory on last year's RSA to be absolutely wrong. It's rock solid form. You'll have Native River this weekend. Yeah, it'll be a cracking Gold Cup.
Apologies, but I'm just going to bring you back to Min one more time. This occurred to me just because we were talking about Kemboy. Does Min go as well at Cheltenham as he might do on flatter tracks?
I think without Alti or Lydia, Min would have won the Supreme. Min would also have won a Champion Chase. I think he's going to run there 3 times, and I wouldn't mind having another go at last year's Champion Chase. He missed his Arkle. He got hurt as a novice.
So that's an answer to a different question, though, isn't it? Is Min at his best on a flat track?
Oh, I think he is. I think his run does like his Champion Chase and his Supreme run are pretty high standard. Just that Altior fella got in the way.
Pesky Altior.
I know, yeah.
Right.
Cheek of him.
those are the chases, or the open chases. We're now going to move on to the question of the Willie Mullins-trained novice chasers, because we learned quite a bit about a lot of them at the weekend. Starting with Cashback, shall we, who finished an excellent second to Notebook in the Irish Arkle. There he is on the right-hand side. What did you make of this?
I think he didn't quite have the experience of Notebook, and the stiff track in Cheltenham will suit him. We saw Notebook going a bit to his right in Leopardstown the last day. That could play out more significantly on the old course in Cheltenham, where there's a couple of more turns than there is in Leopardstown. And I'd say Cashback has a really good chance in an Arkle. He goes forward, he's a sound jumper, and he stays really well.
Yeah, I like your point about whether the old course might actually suit Cashback better than Notebook. I think that's a really good point. And we had a look at the comparison between this race and the Dublin Chase. Cashback on his previous start went really hard. Could he go a bit harder at Cheltenham? Would that be a good thing to do?
Yeah, and naturally with the atmosphere at Cheltenham, the early pace between the parade ring and the start, and it gets jockeys a bit more revved, gets horses a bit more revved. Early pace at the Cheltenham Festival can be a bit quicker than everywhere else anyway, so I think he'd be able to cope with that.
OK, and he himself, does he have the temperament for Cheltenham?
I think he does, even though he wears a hood and he is a bit difficult, but you would have to question whether Notebook does.
Now that's interesting. Tell me about what you think about Notebook.
I just watched him going to the start in Leopardstown. He decided he was going to go to Bray instead of head to the 2 mile start, which is back towards Dublin, and Rachel Blackmore. Now he's going completely in the wrong direction, and Rachel does a wonderful job in getting him stopped. But you know, this, all right, there was a big crowd in Leopardstown on Saturday. There was 12,000 people, and there was a good atmosphere. But there'll be 70,000 people in Cheltenham on the Tuesday when he goes to the start. He'll have to go away from home, be stable in Cheltenham, then razzmatazz and the noise, and you know, if he heads off down to the chute in the Arkle at that speed, God knows where you'll get him pulled up.
That's really interesting. I missed this factor on the day. I didn't realise that was the case.
Then you get people who will argue that he's managed to do that and still put in the performance he put in, yeah, which is a very valid argument. But I'd be more worried about what he's going to do in Cheltenham. Yeah,
I can see that. What I like about Notebook is I feel he is a really clever jumper. He can do everything. I have confidence in him coming to a fence.
That's obviously, it's his jumping that is a huge attribute, because he's only a 135 rated hurdler, and normally a 135 rated hurdler shouldn't, even no matter how well they jump, improve enough to be an Arkle horse. But this fella looks like he has.
It's the Pilates, isn't it? Didn't Henry de Bromfeld reveal it?
Yeah, no, in fairness, Henry did say Specialty R was a very lowly rated hurdler as well, but I don't think he won an Arkle, did he?
No.
Won a champion.
No, he didn't, no.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to think there, but
so
no.
did I.
Right, OK, Faugheen. Wasn't it tremendous? Let's have a look at Faugheen in the Flowgas. You've had a look at the way he jumps. I've got concerns for Cheltenham, but this was wonderful.
It was, and it was a great performance. He's safe, not a problem there. He's a bit high. Here is the last fence of the circuit to go again. He gets in close. It's clean. It's no problem. No issues with it. But that's the early exchanges of a 2 miles and 5 chase and slowest ground. Even there, when he got in deep, he got a bit high behind, but he's sure of what he's doing. Now, Paul goes for a big jump at this ditch, and it's an effort for him, and he skews a little bit. But he gets there, and he makes it. And the same at the last ditch, when Paul asks him for a question, not this fence, the next one, he gets in and fiddles there, no problem. But the next jump here now again, Paul asks for a big jump, and he gets there. Now, when the race quickens up, that's wonderful. There's no issues with his jumping thus far. But when the race quickens at 2 out, and at the last, his jumping isn't so good. He's in front going to this fence. He comes out of it, you know, in a tie for second with 3 others. And again at the last, and he's quite lucky here. It's all his experience that over hurdles the reason he stands here. He gets his feet out and manages to stay balanced. He could easily have knuckled over on his nose there, and he's gutsy from there home. Going to Cheltenham, I think for jumping, he would have to go up and trip. I don't think he could even go at that trip in Cheltenham with him the way he jumps.
So that means RSA Chase and not Marsh.
I would think.
We'll come back to the horse that ran really well, his stable companion Easy Game, in a moment. What's it like jumping Leopardstown compared to jumping Cheltenham?
Oh, Leopardstown's a brilliant track. I think there could be bigger fences in Leopardstown than Cheltenham. Big, fair track, Leopardstown. Now, they're all in pretty much the back straight. They're in a straight line. Away from the stands, they're slightly downhill. But to be fair to Cheltenham fences are beautiful as well. They're so well presented. There's the odd one that's a bit trappy, maybe the 4th last on the new course, the 1st down the back on both tracks. But no, they're good fences.
It's the trappiness of the occasional fence that concerns me for Faugheen. about Cheltenham. And Willie Mullins, interestingly, didn't seem to be completely committed to the project.
I almost don't really want to ask you about what you're going to do with him next. I sort of feel it's a sort of pointless question.
Enjoy today. Yeah, I'm not going to answer it, and anyhow, so I'm not going to answer.
Well done. I don't think you need to.
No, I think today was the day. So I said coming up here, and I said it to Ruby before and David, and I wondered, people were wondering whether with the ground, and we thought he'd bite Germany, he'll handle this ground, but I said today could be his Gold Cup, so he's won and he's done it, and we're going to enjoy it.
Quite right. Okay. Willie, well done.
Thanks. Cheers.
So might not he even go to Cheltenham?
Maybe not. I mean, it was a brave shout, Lydia, to go chasing with him. And
yes,
plenty of people thought that he shouldn't, and he should have been retired. He'd pulled up with a heart problem last year in entry, but Willie did what he thought was right, and Rich allowed him to do that, and it was a brave shout, and it's worked out for them. So I'm sure they'll make the right call, whatever they do.
I'm sure they will, and it's been fantastic to see this season. He has been one of the stories of the season.
He has, and jump racing needs that. I was in Kempton on Stevens' day, and you could see the crowd in Kempton watching and lighting up as they watched the race in Limerick. And then last weekend, he stole the show in Leopardstown.
Yeah, and you could see people running to the paddock afterwards. I love it when things like that happen in racing.
It is, but I suppose you need horses to stay in training for a long period of time for them to get that affection from a crowd, and they probably need to come back from the odd injury as well. Yeah,
showing a bit of, it's like with the Sprinter Sacre thing. I mean, we all marvelled at how amazing he was when he was, rocking over everybody. But where he really tugged everyone's heartstrings is when he came back from his heart problem.
Exactly, and, Altior, probably will come back and get all the fans again if he can do it too. But we're probably quick enough to ride horses off, and lucky enough that people like Willie and Paul Nicholls, even Mikado Star and Nicky Henderson with Sprinter Sacre, are a bit more level and go again.
Yeah, Paul Nicholls with Demon as well.
Exactly, yeah.
OK, so that's Faugheen. That was the good news from that race for Willie Mullins. The bad news was Mellon and Bapome. Bapome being talked about in the same sentence as cashback for the Arkle at one point. That's him out the back there. You can just about see him as the speck on the horizon in yellow, and Mellon is easy to see in the yellow.
Yeah. They're not Arkle horses.
Well, I'm reeling from that.
Mellon, possibly a Marsh horse, maybe. He's run disappointingly here before in an Irish champion hurdle, but he's to prove a hell of a lot in that. Royal Rendezvous in the green cap, he probably wants further, and Cashback was bitterly disappointing, but I think that just proved that they are not Arkle horses, and maybe could be Marsh horses, but need to improve.
Mellon's record at Cheltenham, maybe, would that give you some?
Fourth in the Stayers hurdle, third in a Triumph. Yeah, that wasn't his running, but they're definitely not 2 milers.
OK. How about Easy Game? He ran really well against Faugheen. This is him beating Allaho on the right. Yeah,
and Allaho has since gone and won in Fairyhouse. Easy Game, he was a genuine Grade 2 hurdler. Couldn't quite cope in Grade 1 level, but he's a brilliant jumper and looks to have made the improvement that's required. You would have thought, looking at that, Allaho would go sort of 3 miles, and Easy Game would be heading for the Marsh, just watching those runs.
Interesting.
And I thought that's probably the way they'd go.
OK, right. Which leaves us with Carefully Selected, who you signed off with last week as well for the 4 miler. Is there anything else in the yard for the 4 miler?
I don't think we have anything else qualified. Brahma Bull, I think, is about the only other horse we have qualified.
I keep calling it the 4 miler. Obviously, it's not the 4 miler anymore. I must get that in my head. But I mean the National Hunt Chase with a shortened version of it.
It's just the National Hunt Chase.
It is. It is. I shall try and remember. Right. OK. So I think we've sorted them out there. Do you think Willie will listen to you about where to deploy them?
No chance.
Excellent.
Yeah, no, absolutely no chance. God knows what he could do, but.
So that was a useful exercise. Right, OK, let's have a look at the juvenile, shall we? I'm putting up a juvenile bet, and you can read the wider reasoning in my racingtv.com column as well. That's going out at the same time as this show. I fancy Aspire Tower. I still fancy him after him falling at the last in the spring.
So you obviously think he would have won then, Lydia?
I think he would have done, yeah. I think despite being below his December form, I think he would have won. I don't know the reason why he didn't run as well. I can't really believe it was the ground, even though it was a sounder surface. I just feel that you can't judge him through what happened to Cerberus, because Cerberus just seems to pull himself up. And here, I think, I had such confidence in Rachel Blackmore and Aspire Tower getting over this hurdle. I generally have real confidence in Rachel Blackmore's presentation of horses at obstacles, and particularly at the last. I thought he took a real good hurdler's fall there. I know that sounds like a contradiction in terms. Yeah,
he was going to be low and quick. He leaves his off forward, which is his left leg as we're looking at it. His left one doesn't get anywhere near high enough. That's what trips him over, because it doesn't get to the ground quick enough to keep him upright. So it was an obviously fall and a real hurdler's fall. Like, he probably would have won. Yeah, I don't know, Lydia. It was Cerberus had run in Chepstow and was a good bit behind
All Mankind. Absolutely he was. I think Cerberus didn't run very well here. He made a load of mistakes. His asset is usually jumping, and away over the sea, his stable companion who went on to beat him, he was under pressure. I mean, the whip had been used going into the last, whereas I felt that Rachel Blackmore was still holding some final cards on Aspire Tower, and Wolf Prince got outpaced, didn't he, before staying on?
He did, but I was very impressed with the Wave of the Sea and Down Royal early in the season when JJ Slevin won on him. I thought he was a very strong staying horse. He'd have kept going. He did keep going to win on Sunday, so maybe Aspire Tower. I'd say Aspire Tower is probably definitely the best of the Irish. Whether that'll be good enough to beat a couple of the English ones or not, I don't know. I quite like the way that they will make sure the race is run for Aspire Tower. I don't think he likes leading either. I thought that when he won by a wide margin last time. I still thought it last time out. He just looks like he's a little bit indolent or lacking concentration between hurdles, and I think given a lead, which obviously he's definitely going to get with All Mankind, and Goshen will be there as well, probably upsides him or just in front, I think that could really suit Aspire Tower, who is definitely a strong stayer. I always wanted him to run over 14 furlongs on the flat. You never did, Steve Gollings. You never ran him over 14 furlongs. Sure you got the message? Are you listening, Henry? Run him over 14 furlongs. That'd be great. If you fancy the flat, Henry, 14 furlongs, he'll improve. Anyway, that's my view. So 7 to 1 or upwards, 8 to 1 in a couple of places, I reckon, but I'd be quite happy with 7 to 1 for Aspire Tower. It's your turn to expand a case and bang the desk, Ruby, if you wish. A couple of horses that you saw run recently and the targets you think might be interesting at the Cheltenham Festival. I just think there was a couple of running handicaps over the weekend in Leopardstown. There were plenty of handicaps in Cheltenham too, and the first one was Column of Fire. I thought he got a pretty nice mark. He ran the 3 mile handicap hurdles in the white cap, Jigginstown white cap, Jack Kennedy riding him, jumping there, but jumping a bit like a chaser. Now nothing from too far back got involved in this race. The winner is in front, Tracy's Enniscorthy, and the jam man is a little behind Column of Fire. Now he was in the right place. Why is he going to improve enough to win a Martin Pipe or something like that? I just think 2-5 round Cheltenham would really suit him, and I think with this run under his belt and the experience of a run the competitive handicap, it could bring about a little bit of improvement that would make a mistake there. Just think those little things. He could stick out, and he's a novice, right profile for the kind of Martin Pipe. And did that just occur to you when you were watching that race, or is it a horse that you've been watching? I watched him, he fell on New Year's Day, and I watched him bolt in the maiden hurdle in Punchestown. I thought he had a very lenient mark here. He did get outpaced away from the second last, but he does stay on well and is getting going again. And I think in a strongly run Martin Pipe, where you'll have to come home, I think the way this horse finishes off, that'll suit the race. Okay. And the other horse that caught your eye with a similar thought profile? Similar ownership, different trainer, was Embittered, who was 6th in the 2 mile handicap hurdle on Saturday. He's in the middle of your shot there with Hugh Morgan. Gets quite tight here for him. But this is only his 4th run over hurdles. He'd run in a maiden and 2 novices. Eglantine Desai comes down the outside here and closes the door. He gets rightly mashed up, and backs out. But to be fair to the horse, he's such little experience. He's a mark of 141. This was a tactically run race, and he keeps going well from the back of the last. And I think maybe in a county hurdle, this lad could be one to keep on the right side of, because he's got knocked down, he's kept running, he's closing all the way to the line, and I just think in a strongly run county hurdle he could be interesting. You mentioned Eglantine Desai on the outside in the red colours. She made a big move, didn't she, around the outside, and then just sort of kept on. That was better, wasn't it? It was better, and she has form on the new course in Cheltenham. She won the novice hurdle there last year. She could be for the county too, but she doesn't have an excuse like Embittered did. No. And she has far more experience. Well, apart from quite a big, wide, fast move. Yeah, it was off a slowly run race. Yeah, you can factor that in. Yeah, definitely could, and she could move forward from it. But I just think Embittered has no experience. So you wouldn't have her in the mares, the Grade 1 mares at all? No.
No. Okay. And what happens? It started as we finish. Benny Didier versus Honeysuckle. If they both run in the Mares' Hurdle, what happens?
Benny wins.
How comfortably?
It's easy as Paul wants.
Okay.
I know. I think
It's easy when you're sitting there, isn't it?
Always was.
Right. Well, that's it. I mean, they asked for more, didn't they? They asked for a longer edition of the show. We listened.
Did we?
No. It just happened. It was an accident, you know. It just happened.
Such good racing last weekend in Lydia. That's what happened.
That's exactly what it was. Ruby, thank you as ever very much for your thoughts. Thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the longer edition of the Road to Cheltenham.